Isn't that why you were here?
This is it. Don't get scared.
Hello and welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show. This is it. Don't get scared now. And thank you for joining me once again, where you can look at my stupid face for about 90 minutes and ask me anything and everything that you want to about movies, life, or whatever else. I don't care. Make it weird. I'm bored. It's Saturday afternoon, and with all of that said, let me open up a delicious caffeinated beverage. Some things run on AA batteries. I run on caffeinated beverages. And speaking of batteries, these all taste like battery acid and horse piss. But with all that said, it's nice to see you guys again. I want to talk about a few things today. There's a few new movies I've seen over the last week, and maybe you've seen a few of them as well. Oh yeah, I'm already seeing some glorious questions pouring in. I am excited. Absolutely. But the first one here comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, "How have you been, Johnny Largemeat?" I don't mind the nickname, not very catchy, but I will take it. It's so weird seeing you when the sun is out. Indeed it is. It feels weird to be talking as the sun is out, but the older I get, the more I hate to admit this, I go to bed 99% of the time before midnight. If I can make it to midnight, I'm usually in the fetal position scrolling on TikTok, trying to stay awake. That's where I'm at in life. It's sad. I never thought I'd get here. But anyway, how's it going? The White Skull, who says, "Happy Saturday." Saturday indeed is the best day of the week, is it not? Friday, you still go to work. Saturday, you don't have any obligations. And then Sunday, you're just waiting to go back to work again. It's utterly depressing. But with all of that said, I want to talk about a few new movies I have on Blu-ray over here. And the first one is Dream Scenario, starring the great, godlike Nicolas Cage. Now, I will say, I enjoyed maybe 42% of this movie. I liked most of the scenes with Nicolas Cage. It was a decent performance, which was a little bit kooky and weird at times. But the entire concept itself is sort of like a PG version of Freddy Krueger. And Nicolas Cage, in a sense, is Freddy Krueger. Now, I think if you really went balls to the wall with that concept, and in fact just made Nicolas Cage a quirky Freddy Krueger, this movie would have been an instant classic, or at least for me it would have been. But what did we get? Well, we got a movie that really has no payoff. I enjoyed the journey at times, but during the third act, I just couldn't wait for it to end. And then on Blu-ray, I got one of my favorite films of last year, Iron Claw, starring Zac Efron. Now, this is a biopic about a wrestling family, and it's based on true events, obviously, and I quite enjoyed everything in this film. I enjoyed I think this is one of Zac Efron's best performances, and I think this movie was overshadowed at the Oscars this year by far. Maybe they released it way too late in the year to get any momentum going for Oscar buzz, but nevertheless, if you have not seen Iron Claw, even if you don't like pro wrestling, I think this is an enjoyable movie. And in my opinion, it's this and The Wrestler for the top two best wrestling movies ever made. And then I got Anyone But You. And my motto is just pick any other rom-com except for this one. Listen, Sydney Sweeney's nice to look at. Hell, I think even Glenn Powell's nice to look at. The guy has killer ab definition, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. Am I jealous? Maybe slightly. But this just feels like the cliche. Okay, the best way to describe this is you go to ChatGPT, and then you type in like 17 other rom-com movies, and then you say, give me a screenplay sort of like these. And this is what it would shit out digitally, and then you'd get this movie. It just felt odd and awkward, and like they had a checklist of things they had to introduce into this film, which some of the choices were just bizarre and not funny. And then I got a few horror films here from a company called Horror Pack. I'll put the link down below after this live stream because I completely forgot to do it beforehand. And I will get into your questions in just 1 second, so hang tight. I'm getting there. I'm just letting you guys get warmed up, okay? I like to get you guys lubricated, all right? So the first the first one is it Titan? It's got a lady on a car hood that's on fire. I have not seen this. Is it Titan or Titan? Titan? I don't know. I don't know what this is. I know nothing about it. And then I got Wormwood, which I've never seen. Wormwood Apocalypse, never seen this. And then I have, Then I have Rave, never seen this. Are these good? Do you guys recommend any of these thus far? And then Crimes of the Future, which Viggo Mortensen's in this film, Kristen Stewart's in this film, but I have not seen this. So are any of those decent horror films to watch? Let me know your recommendation if you had to pick one of those. Pick the flick, I might just do that. But the truth be told, I might have to put some pants on before we play Pick the Flick. That sounds weird, doesn't it? That sounds really bizarre. No, if I have to get up and get movies, I might actually have to put pants on. Or I'll just save that for my OnlyFans, which I don't have. All right, let's just dive into the good stuff. Let's dive into the questions. And the first thing, though, I do want to get off the top of my head, and thank you guys for the questions so far. I'm going to get there. Actually, you know what? This one is the perfect segue to the next topic. Movie Mad says, I've been a member for 53 months. The new Roadhouse sucks, does not have heart of the original. Now let's talk about the new Roadhouse film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, directed by Doug Liman. Okay, now Doug Liman is a competent director, even though that last abomination starring, what was it, Chaos Walking or something? It was one of the worst movies ever made, starring Tom Holland. But he did direct Edge of Tomorrow, which I think is a phenomenal film. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal. I would say he's one of my favorite actors. But the new Roadhouse film, and this is coming from a guy who quite enjoys the original 1989 Roadhouse starring Patrick Swayze. When I was a young man, Patrick Swayze in my home was sort of like Jesus Christ, except he had a much better haircut and better muscular definition, especially when you sprinkle some baby oil on him. You guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, the new Roadhouse film, I was sort of looking forward to watching it. Now, did I think it was going to be anything better than an Amazon Prime movie? No. But I was sort of looking forward to it. And I was counting down the days. And not only that, we made popcorn, we got drinks, and we quite enjoyed setting up the environment for viewing the film on Thursday night when it was released on Amazon Prime. And 10 minutes into the film, I got this feeling that it was not going to be what I wanted, unfortunately. And it just kept progressing into that territory where it just felt like every other straight to streaming movie that exists. It just felt very digital. It felt hollow. It felt like the clear-cut definition of a bad remake. And what I mean by that is, do you guys ever notice when they remake a movie, they take all the plot points of that original film, and then they say, how can we make this different for the sake of making it different? Then they shuffle all those plot points all differently, sort of like a deck of cards. They just shuffle all of the plot points around in the remake so they can say it's different, but all those plot points from the original still exist in this new movie, except they're organized in such a way where they don't make any sense. For example, in the new Roadhouse movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal, his entire motivation for being this weird loner who took a man's life in the past, much like the original film where Dalton in fact ripped out a guy's fucking throat because the guy was going to pull a gun on him and Dalton had no other choice but to take this man's life. You can understand that. You can almost agree with it, all right? In this new remake, Jake Gyllenhaal's character is an ex-UFC fighter who just beats the shit out of a guy in the octagon. He's down, he's knocked out, and he just keeps punching him to murder him. And you think, okay, so he just murdered someone. There was no reason for it. He already won the fight. The guy was knocked out. He's just a psychopath. And if ever there was a clear-cut definition of murder, well, he just committed it in front of cameras and an audience of people in this arena. But there's no repercussions for his actions. I guess he just can't fight in the UFC anymore, and he has to be a weird loner guy who sort of has Forrest Gump vibes. But his character was just bizarre. At other times, he was this cocky, confident guy who would say, hey, do you got medical insurance? Do you have good dental insurance? Because what I'm going to do is break your tibia, and then you're going to limp. Like, he would go on these diatribes of being this cocky guy who knows he can kick your ass. And then at other times, it's almost like he has a weird form of autism where he's just wandering around town where he doesn't really know how to communicate with people. And you go, what the fuck is happening here? It's like he's two different people with split personality syndrome. But let's go back to him killing someone in the UFC. I thought the logical standpoint for his backstory would be he accidentally killed someone in the octagon. Maybe he does a crazy roundhouse kick and the guy's brain just connects from his spinal cord and he dies. Okay, I can buy that. I can live with that. You're still a good guy. But no. In this movie, the guy's on the ground and he just keeps beating the shit out of him until his face turns into mashed potatoes. And that's his backstory. That's it. That's what they did with that. Now let's talk about the villain of Roadhouse, shall we, just for a second? And I'm going to get to the rest of the questions. And please tell me how you guys felt about Roadhouse, because I was sort of blown away when I read some of the comments down below. I put out a couple thoughts on Twitter and Facebook, and every time I put one of those out, I can predict the future at this point in YouTube. I just know someone's going to say, John, you don't like anything anymore, or I liked it, but these same people never justify their opinion with any reference to anything that they liked in the movie. They just say, I like it, but without one reference to one thing that they liked. And then the same people will get mad at me for not liking bad movies, also never reference one thing about the movie that they liked or the reason I should have liked it. And I would love to hear that. But this film, it takes place in Florida at this resort beach bar where somehow these biker gangs hang out at, but they're the most cliche biker gangs from a 2002 direct-to-DVD movie that you'd find in the $5 bin at Walmart. And they're just bad guys for the sake of being bad. But the main villain in this film is some douchebag who has a yacht because his father went to prison and now he owes people money. But yet his plan is to start bar fights at a tropical beach resort bar because he wants the land to build a resort. I think that's his plan. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure if he knew what it was. But the main foe in this film is Conor McGregor. And he plays the douchiest character I've ever seen put on screen. And keep in mind, it's sort of like Conor McGregor, but on steroids and crack and a little bit of meth, turned up to 10,000, who's trying to be this Terminator-like character. And every time he pulls up to his like bad guy hangout, he steals a car and just wrecks it into a tree to park it. And then he comes into the bad guy hangout with all these other generic bad guys. And he goes, what's going on in here? You guys want to fight or something? And then they all just look at him awkwardly. And then he walks away. That's his character. I don't know what the purpose of it was. At least in the original, the main henchman was some dude with a mullet. And his best line and keep in mind, this is one of the best lines ever given in cinema. Right at the end of the film in the original, in the 89, he goes, I used to fuck guys like you in prison. Now that's terrifying. If Conor McGregor would have given one line, anything like that, I would have bought into his character instantaneously. It would have made complete sense. I would have been like, he probably did. Which is terrifying. Also, speaking of characters going to prison, I think if Jake Gyllenhaal's version of Dalton had went to prison after that UFC fight and did some hard time, that would have added so much more to his backstory. That's just my opinion. I think that's some constructive criticism. And then him sort of being a loner, looking for work, where the only work he can find is being a bouncer in a club would have made sense. But the thing is about this new film, the original, as crazy as it is, as over the top as it is, and keep in mind, the bar fights are completely outrageous in the 89 Roadhouse film. But the logic within that universe makes sense. I buy it. And for that, I've always accepted it. But the logic of these crazy bar fights happening in this new film, they just feel forced. It doesn't make any sense. It feels like the bar that all these fights happen in just feel like a bar where guys who go golfing on the weekend would hang out. And I couldn't buy that concept any longer. There was just something about the location and the scenery and the world building in this one. And I know I'm talking about world building in a Roadhouse remake. I know, maybe I'm overstepping my boundaries here, but just hear me out. I just couldn't buy anything that this movie was trying to sell me. And also, when it comes to the fight scenes in this film, that's the point of contention for a lot of people. I think some of the fight scenes work. By the way, hang on. My Roomba vacuum's out in the other room. I can hear it sucking. It's sucking like the new Roadhouse movie is. Hang on, let me turn this off. Okay. By the way, would you like to know our Roomba's name? It's R2Suck2. Anyway. Let's talk about Roadhouse. Speaking of things that suck. The fight scenes. They do this weird motion speed up when they're fighting. And sometimes I think that's kind of cool. Other times it just looks like a video game. But the thing that really stood out to me as outrageously bad was every time that there's a car in this film, and there's one scene where a car tries to kill Jake Gyllenhaal's character on a bridge, it looks like a cartoon car from like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. It just zooms into the scene where it looks like the rules of gravity do not any longer apply, and it just flies into him going like 3,000 miles per hour. And it's the most unbecoming thing I've ever seen on cinema. So anyway, the new Roadhouse movie, I hated it. My one positive I will give this film, and we can talk all about it here, Florida is exactly where stuff like this happens. Yeah, but something about the way that this movie looked in Florida, it seemed like they shot the movie on only gloomy days in Florida, which made me kind of depressing. Like, I don't know. I think this movie should have taken place in Tijuana, because I feel like in Tijuana, I don't think anyone would, like, the police wouldn't show up for these crazy bar fights. You could have over-the-top mayhem and violence, and it could persist throughout the film, or at least the story. But in Florida, it's just, I don't know. I hated the location. And I hated the bar that it took place in. It was like a tiki bar. It just was not the right location for this. Anyway, that's Roadhouse. That's what a modern day action movie is at this point. Some people liked it. A lot of people hated it. I thought it got boring halfway through. I thought the plot went out of its way to be incomprehensibly bad. I thought that I think Conor McGregor had no direction. He took me out of the movie every 4 seconds. I don't know what was happening with that. I couldn't believe they allowed that to happen in an $85 million movie. I couldn't believe Jake Gyllenhaal signed on to do this movie, because if this movie didn't have Jake Gyllenhaal, an A-list actor in it, this would have went straight to the DVD bin at Walmart. That's where this movie should have belonged. It belongs. It does not. It baffles me. This is the shit that gets made these days. It's sort of depressing at the same time. But I will say this: my one positive criticism for the new Roadhouse movie, I would say there was a glimmer of hope during the final showdown in this film, where they played Metallica, and it lasted for like 12 seconds. And I thought to myself, if this movie maybe had a better score throughout, I could at least buy it being this cool, badass action movie at times. But just nothing stood out, except for those last like 10 seconds during the final fight scene. It's really depressing. And after watching the movie, I really had some introspective thoughts. And I thought to myself, John, why don't you like to talk about movies anymore? You like movies. You do. You prefer good ones. But shit like this, I just felt nothing afterwards other than emptiness and a slight form of depression. Because this is what people accept as entertainment. This is what people who scroll on TikTok with noise in the background think is a quality movie. I don't know. That's where we're at with cinema. And then speaking of movies, I'm going to go see the new Ghostbusters Frozen Hell or whatever it's called tonight, which I've heard is sort of hollow. But I'm looking forward to it nevertheless. The original cast coming back gets me excited. All right. That's my rant about Roadhouse. I'm sure it was all over the place. And let's just keep going here. Thoughts on the Furiosa trailer? I think it looks entertaining. It looks a little CG, like it looks like they shot it more so on a green screen than Fury Road to me, but I'm excited for it. Okay, the next one comes from Dr. Pacho Kamek, who says, thoughts on Aaron Taylor-Johnson as new Bond. That's cool. I think that's an inspired casting choice. You know, I think Henry Cavill would have been a good choice, but if they want to get a younger Bond in there, I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is not a bad pick. But at the same time, I don't know if I could, if the new Bond was like a series, like a really high production, high caliber series, I think someone like Aaron Taylor Johnson would be good. But as a cinematic Bond, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy into it. I'm curious to see it. I think it's an interesting casting choice. At least it's not on the nose completely. It depends who the director is, I think, at this point. But it's definitely intriguing. The next one comes from... Should I start talking faster? Because these questions have come in very quickly. Here we go. Ryan Potter says, Warriors of Virtue 1997 TMT, but it's with kangaroos. Yeah, I was never a big fan of Warriors of Virtue from 1997. Never got into it. Gabe K says, I was crying laughing at the beginning of Alex Laba's video where you said, not in public, Alex. Really fun video. Have you seen Columbus from 2017? Columbus from 2017? I don't think so. And yeah, that was quite the enjoyable video to make. I'll hopefully I don't have to make another one for 5 years. Dr. Pekka Kamek says, thoughts on Sicario 2? Saw it recently, was badass. Definitely light years out of the league of the first Sicario. I thought Sicario 2 had some good ideas. I thought it made, it was really focusing on making Benicio del Toro sort of this badass vigilante character. But just, I think the quality of the film was definitely suffering from not having the same director again. Nora Sinclair says, hey, John, how do you think Man of Steel holds up? I remember you being one of the YouTubers of the time who liked it better. Listen, I think Man of Steel, if it would have come out maybe like 2 years ago, I think people would have appreciated it much more, especially when we are in, I would say, the lackluster years of Marvel movies, where those are progressively sort of getting worse overall. I think people would appreciate a movie like Man of Steel more so these days than they would have back in 2013. That's my opinion. I think the movie has some flaws, but nevertheless, it's sort of I liked it. I think it was an interesting take on Superman. And in my opinion, anything that wasn't Superman Returns was going to be instantly better. Because that was just sad, mopey, depressed, emo Superman crying about Lois Lane floating around, looking at her from a distance, which... and then you had Lex Luthor in that movie with another real estate scheme. I'm going to make an island out of kryptonite. Okay, well, what's the terrain look like? It's rigid and cold and floating above tidal waves in the ocean. That's what I'll do. Okay, well, no one wants to fucking live there, so that's a terrible idea. But nevertheless, I'll get back to the point. I like Man of Steel. I still do. I think the score is still great. Does that mean I don't want a more fun, fantastical version of Superman like we're getting from James Gunn? No, I'm curious to see that version as well, but I still stand by Man of Steel. I really do. Okay, the next one comes from Doopy Snoogie? Going to see Late Night with the Devil was good. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I did see Love, Lies, and Bleeding with Kristen Stewart being the grossest human being who's ever existed. Did you guys see Love, Lies, Bleeding? Did you like it? I thought the concept was really cool. I thought some of the execution was really well done. It gets a little bit bizarre and a little bit artsy for the sake of being artsy. But I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I was hoping. But I just want to talk about Kristen Stewart in that movie being the most disgusting fucking person who's ever existed. The movie literally opens up with her. She works at a gym, and she's plunging a toilet with her bare fucking hand. Okay, I don't know how to tell you this, Kristen Stewart. Maybe you've just been in Hollywood too long, but there's something called a plunger. right? When shit gets clogged in the drain of your toilet, you stick this device with a wooden handle and a rubber thing on the end where you plunge it out. You don't have to use your fist. But maybe that was just Kristen Stewart trying to be artsy and gritty. I don't know. But she's plunging a toilet with her bare hand. And throughout the movie, she just does the most disgusting things. Like, she just loves being like, she has like this weird foot fetish where she loves like sucking on like her girlfriend's dirty feet. And listen, I get it. We've all been there, haven't we? But just some of the weird shit she was doing in this movie, it felt so real. And I could tell this was from her head and she thought this was a good idea. Am I getting off topic? Maybe so. But I just really wanted to talk about Kristen Stewart plunging a toilet with her bare hand. Let's go to the next question. All right. Skylar Wheelock says, if you were doing a Nick Cage movie marathon, which of his movies would you start with? That's a great question. Well, it depends. Do I want to have a quality cinematic experience with Nicolas Cage, or do I just want the most over-the-top bombastic bullshit that he's ever made? Those are two very different movie marathons. But I would probably open it up with Con Air. You know, just start nice and steady. But once again, that's a loaded question. Or do I want to watch The Wicker Man? Probably not. But if you're asking me my favorite Nicolas Cage movies, it's probably Con Air. I would say I'm going to go with Face Off. I would definitely pick Lord of War to put in there. And then, you know, one of the funniest Nicolas Cage performances for me that exists in a somewhat competent film is Bad Lieutenant. That was the most hysterical experience of my life in a cinema. I just remember watching Bad Lieutenant back in 2010, or maybe it was 2009, in an art house theater, surrounded by senior citizens, and me and my good pal were watching it, and the sequence where he takes the old lady's oxygen tube in a nursing home and bends it was... I've never laughed so hard in my life. I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. And I think everyone in the theater was looking at me like I was the biggest piece of shit who's ever existed, because they thought they were witnessing this dramatic sequence where Nicolas Cage was harassing a senior citizen. But what I saw up there was comedy gold at its finest. So I would definitely put that in the movie marathon there. Yeah, National Treasure's okay, but it's sort of blah. It's it's an easy time to get through. Raising Arizona, good movie as well. All right, the next one comes from Hayden Center, who says, I'm a huge fan, man. I'm at 231 subs on my movie review channel, and you're one of the few people that inspired me to do it. Hope I can meet you one day. Well, Hayden, congratulations, and here's to 231 more subs. And thank you for that, man. Keep on keeping on. I don't know where you live, but maybe randomly the Matrix will put us in the same place at the same time one day. I just met a viewer the other day who works at Costco. He was handing out samples, and he saw me from a distance. That was kind of cool. James Dozier says, doing anything this Easter? Probably not. Easter is not one of those holidays I celebrate too much as an adult. Now, if I ever have kids, I'm sure I'll hide shit around the house and make them find it and say some crazy giant bunny hid those things, which in itself is sort of terrifying when you think about it. But a fun fact about Easter, I was actually born on Easter back in 1987. Yes, in fact, I was born on Easter Day, 1987. It was sort of like the resurrection of the second coming. So anyway, yeah, fun fact about me. James Dozier says, did I just answer that? I think I did. John Sellers says, what are your thoughts on Joker 2 being a musical? I'm still probably going to see it, but no enthusiasm anymore. Yeah, the thing is, when they said it was going to be a musical, I thought maybe they were slightly embellishing that. And I thought, okay, maybe there's going to be a musical number in his head at some point where it's just bizarre and crazy, but it works within the narrative of the film. But the latest report is no, this is a straight up musical with like 20 musical set pieces, which I don't know how to feel about that. Is that the version of a Joker sequel I want to see? No, not at all. Am I that enthusiastic about it because of that? No, that took all the wind out of my sails. But hey, you got to have some faith in the director, Todd Phillips. He made a great first Joker film. Maybe he knows what he's doing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm assuming things. But then again, Hollywood has lost its fucking mind. So who knows? Yeah, if it's a straight up musical, it doesn't sound like the movie I wanted it to be. I can tell you that. Night King 01. How's it going, man? And Night King 01, I'm curious how many questions you are going to ask tonight. People always say it's basically just me and you having a conversation. But let's see if we can prove them wrong. Here it goes. I saw Roadhouse. The movie made me mad because of how boring it was. Jake Gyllenhaal seems like he's sleepwalking, trying to capture the original's charm. It's never going to happen. Also, it looks like streaming and the way they filmed it, the fights just hurt. Yeah, like I said, every streaming movie has to look gray and digital with no style, and you have to force in all these characters into the story that don't feel like they have any place being there. They have no charisma or no personality. They don't really have any chemistry with the main character. And I'm talking to like multiple characters throughout the new Roadhouse. You have Jake Gyllenhaal, who befriends this little girl who works at a bookstore, some random little shop down the street from where he's staying. And he lives on a boat, by the way. And he's just friends with this little girl because, okay, whatever. But there was no reason for it. It added nothing to the story. And then you have the like lady who owns the tiki bar where he's a bouncer, and I didn't understand, like, the dynamic there didn't make any sense. Her character didn't feel like a lady who would own a tiki bar somewhere. I just couldn't buy anything they were selling me. It felt so artificial. There was no charm, and it just felt so surface level. Like, if you're going to make a bad movie with a crazy over-the-top concept, every character in your film should be over-the-top and have a personality that you can instantly describe in one sentence. Can you describe the personality traits of anyone in this film besides saying Conor McGregor was a fucking douchebag? Jake Gyllenhaal seemed like he was bipolar, but can you describe anyone else in the film? Their personality traits? I don't think I can. Generic character number 2. Okay, the next one comes from Claudia Rogajon, who says, I thought the same. Gyllenhaal is a psycho in this film. Oh, he's definitely a sociopath. But they couldn't commit to the concept of him being a sociopath. They just couldn't quite commit to the idea. Because in the original, Dalton's sort of a cool dude. He's calm. He likes to meditate. He likes to work out and do yoga without a shirt on. It made sense. But in this by the way, I forgot to talk about the love interest of the new Roadhouse film. It's some lady who's one of the worst actresses I've ever seen put on film. I don't know if Hollywood owes her a debt or she has blackmail on someone who produced this movie. But she's a foreign actress. Maybe she's from South America. I don't know. But she has this heavy accent. And she has no chemistry with Gyllenhaal. Their two characters just have no chemistry whatsoever. Just nothing. Just nothing. She just exists there. And you're supposed to think, okay, these two people like each other. But you don't. You just feel like these are two random people having an encounter. And it just feels awkward. Like there's some kind of weird tension in the air. And by the way, did I mention she's a terrible fucking actress? But anyway, the subplot that really took me out of the film was, and where it gets comprehensively convoluted, where her father is the police chief of this small town, and he's corrupt. And anyway, That's what I'm saying, guys. It's the decision making process on this film. I don't understand what they were thinking when they did it. Like, there was no other draft of the screenplay, or maybe you guys could fix this and tweak this, or nope, here's $85 million. Make it for Amazon Prime. It'll exist for one day, then no one will ever talk about the movie again. That's cinema. Okay, the next one comes from... Oh God, I'm so tired. This wore me out. John Rainwright says, "Hey John, are you picking up the new 4Ks for The Abyss and True Lies and Aliens?" Maybe. Just because the simple fact I don't own them on physical media, which is sort of sad and depressing. But if I see True Lies for like $7 on Black Friday, I might consider it, even though I heard the transfer is pretty bad. The Abyss is one movie that I've never really had the urge to rewatch all that often. I know, I'm just going to keep it real with you. Everyone says how much they like The Abyss, but it's one of those James Cameron movies where I've seen it multiple times, but I just don't have the urge to rewatch it ever. But I think it would look cool on Blu-ray. Aliens, definitely I would like to get on 4K Blu-ray. I think that's a must-own. And by the way, speaking of The Abyss, you guys can Google this shit right now. There's a in the extended cut of The Abyss, when the giant tidal wave is about to crash into the beach, and everyone's running for their lives. This exists in the movie. You can watch it, unless James Cameron took it out. But go to YouTube and type this in. Type in Abyss tidal wave pull pants down. That sounds weird. I don't know. Maybe don't type that. But if you want to, during that sequence, there's in the background, one of the extras pulls another guy's pants down and you can see his bare ass as there's a huge tidal wave in the background. It's glorious. But hey, if you're going to die, you might as well die with your pants around your ankles. Am I right? Let's go to the next question. And that comes from Chase C, who says, "I enjoyed the new Roadhouse after a few beers." Well, I would probably enjoy the new Roadhouse after a lobotomy because I wouldn't have the brain capacity to comprehend what makes a quality movie. And don't get me wrong, I'm not some elitist art house film-loving asshole, okay? You guys know better than that. One of my favorite 80s films of all time is Over the Top. Why? Because I can appreciate it, but the movie knows what it is and it does it just right. You accept what it's giving you. But this new Roadhouse just felt like someone was trying to cram really generic bad ideas down my throat, and I just couldn't accept it. Let's go to the next one here. Krishna Rayo says, "Chris Stuckman gave Roadhouse remake a positive review the other day. How is that possible?" I don't know. I didn't see that. I have no comment. I don't know. I did not watch that review. The next one comes from Dr. Pacha. Dr. Pacha Kamama? I don't know. Thoughts on Aaron Taylor Johnson as the new Bond? We talked about that a little bit ago. I think it's kind of cool. You know, I think in Bullet Train, I don't know. I think it's a weird choice. I don't hate it, but I don't see what kind of performance he's going to give it. I think if he's going to play a young, kind of cocky, arrogant Bond who has to prove himself, I could see that being his version of Bond, and maybe he'll get the suave confidence. Maybe in the sequels as he ages into the role, I could see them playing it that way. But I think a young Bond is kind of an interesting take at this point. I think this is the version they should go. So I don't hate it. John, thoughts on Kingdom Planet of the Apes? I'm probably going to take edibles and watch the movie because talking CGI apes just is so much more enjoyable when you're on drugs, especially in the theater. That's probably how I'm going to experience this movie. Am I looking forward to it? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like it looks like a reason to go to the movie theater. Do I think it's going to be anything that resonates with me? Probably not. The next one comes from Daniel Green. Or sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to get there, Daniel. Just hang on. Avery A says, "John, why do people pretend to like avocados? And does the vastness of space and time give you an existential crisis? Well, first, before we get into an existential crisis and my theory on how we live in the Matrix, first, let's talk about avocados. My girlfriend slash fiance loves avocados. She loves avocados on her toast. Now, I, on the other hand, think avocados taste like bland toothpaste, and the texture and the consistency I find utterly disgusting. If you were to blow your nose, freeze dry it, let it hit room temperature, and smear it on toast, that's what avocados taste like to me. It's completely wrong, and it goes against everything that makes a human a human. If you like avocados, you might as well just go eat toothpaste. I don't get you. Now let's talk about existential crisis. Is existential crises? Would that be the right term? Anyway, the concept that we live on a giant rock and we are more or less the equivalent of self-aware bacteria clinging onto this giant rock in the void of space, spinning around at thousands of miles per hour, and we're just at the mercy of if another giant rock wants to collide with us, instantly killing us. That to me is terrifying. I think about the larger picture of everything in the universe every day. Some people get tunnel vision and hyper focus on things. Some people just say, oh, the only thing I'm going to notice today is I'm going to make a cup of coffee and watch a movie later and then go to bed. Yeah, I think about those things and I enjoy those small things in life. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I am still thinking of the fact we are on this giant rock in the void of space, and we're all alone. And really, when you think about it, it's the same equivalent of looking down at a little petri dish that you leave out, and it starts growing bacteria and mold after a few days. And you give that petri dish enough time, eventually, a civilization will come from it. But that civilization knows nothing other than this little petri dish that it exists in. And I think that's us as the human race. Did I compare us to bacteria? Yes, I did. And I think if we can all agree upon that, then the world will be a better place. So yes, I do think about the vastness of space quite often. Do I think right now we're in an incubation chamber with warm liquid goo and wires plugged into our brains where we think this reality is, well, reality, and it's some kind of weird futuristic virtual video game that we're just stuck in? I think that's more likely than us living on a giant rock hurling through space. I think statistically speaking, it's more likely. Anyway, back to avocados. All right, let's go to the next question here. Let's take another drink of this, though. And by the way, thanks to all 266 of you people in here watching the ramblings of a special needs child on YouTube right now. Thank you for that. Now let's go to the next question. Joshua Knox says, have you seen Godzilla -1? It was one of my favorite movies of 2023. I highly recommend it. I think that's the sentiments of a lot of people, man. A lot of people say they love that movie. I have not seen it yet. I'm holding out. Don't ask me why I'm being stubborn. I don't know why. I'm just waiting for it to hit 4K so I can watch it at home. Simple as that. R. Johnny Cuddy, thank you for the generous super chat question. Now let's answer it. Here it goes. The hero who told that he's a savior, the group leader who's hardcore believer in the prophecy and trains the hero, the girlfriend who kisses the hero back from the dead to realize the prophecy, is it Dune 2 or The Matrix? I mean, aren't they kind of both based on biblical fairy tales to some degree? I mean, but yeah, I mean, they all share the same similar narratives, do they not? All classic movies share the same storylines. Isn't the saying there's only really 20 different storylines, all stories share, more or less, give or take? Switch things around, but the narratives are more or less the same. But hey, we love it. How can you camouflage a good story with other different shit to make it feel new and fresh? That's all movies do. And once you can accept that, that's fine. I've gotten to that point. But yeah, thank you for that question. It's very philosophical. Sean Chandler, how's it going, buddy? Just stopped by. What on the earth promoted that answer? Ha ha ha. Which answer was that? I don't know. During these live streams, what I do is I just hyper focus on this bright light behind the camera, and I think I go into some kind of weird trance. I just spew out all the weird shit I have to tuck in and bite my tongue throughout the normal day, throughout society, and I unleash it right here for your listening and viewing pleasure. But I thank you for watching the ramblings of a madman. It does mean a lot. Please don't go anywhere. I need you guys. Okay, let's go to the next question. Night King01 says, another thing about Roadhouse, another thing about Roadhouse, as generic and one note as the villains were in the original, they were played as charismatic actors, and also they had memorable names: Brad Wesley, Wade Garrett, Jimmy Reno. In this, we get Ben Brandt and Elwood What. I didn't even remember the names of any characters in the new Roadhouse remake. I couldn't tell you one name of anyone besides Dalton. And they never even had the line where they said, I thought you'd be a lot bigger. Nothing like that. And the fucking guy just walks everywhere. Like some fucking bum who couldn't get a license that got too many DUIs. Dalton in this movie, he's a fucking loser. He's just walking all around town. The only place he walks to is a little bookstore down the road to hang out with a 12-year-old little girl. What the fuck was going on with that? At least in the original, the character of Dalton had some depth to him. The guy was a strategist. He knew his car was going to get beat up by assholes after a bar fight, so he just bought some beater car from a junkyard. But he still had a nice BMW in storage. He kept spare tires in the trunk because he knew someone would flatten his tires every night. It was thought... His character had a purpose. Jake Gyllenhaal's version of Dalton in this was bizarre, wasn't it? I don't, yeah. But hey, this is a good movie, I guess, to some people. It really disappoints me. I'm not angry. I'm not even angry at this movie. I'm just disappointed. As should all of you be. Because if we accept movies like this, guess what? In 10 years, AI is just going to generate screenplays like the new Roadhouse movie. And these are the movies we will come to accept. Just soulless versions of better movies that used to exist. Except kids nowadays don't know any better, or they just simply don't care. Get me worked up. All right, let's go to the next question here. I think my chat over here froze, but either way, I'll keep rambling on. The next question comes from Daniel Green, who says, have you watched 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams? I had to watch Hook immediately after. Whew, yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a good point. And I'd like to dive into the psychological reasonings for that just momentarily. 1 Hour Photo is about a creepy old man. And by the way, I've encountered many creepy old men in my life. And I'm not going to share those stories just now, but I will continue on talking about 1 Hour Photo. Every time you watch the performance of one of your beloved actors playing a creepy character, you immediately have to wash the taste out of your mouth in a happy performance that they've given that make you like them again. And by the way, speaking of that, have you ever noticed Kevin Bacon? He always plays the worst types of human beings that ever exist in many movies. Have you guys ever seen the movie called Sleepers? I watched that movie as a kid and hated Kevin Bacon with all of my heart for about 15 years afterwards. That's a true story. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because I don't want to get demonetized. But you know what? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say it. Yes, I am. Well, anyway, Kevin Bacon in Sleepers plays a pedophile. And then he played another pedophile in the movie The Woodsman, which made me questioned some of his logical choices when it came to roles in cinema. But anyway, and then after I watched movies like that with Kevin Bacon, I immediately had to watch Footloose. And then that scene in Footloose where he just loses his shit and starts dancing, I call it fight dancing. I call it Street Fighter dancing because he's like running around side-scrolling like that, shooting Hadoukens in the warehouse in Footloose. That instantly washes the bad taste out of my mouth with Kevin Bacon. Anyway, I'm getting really off topic here. Let's just go to the next question. And the next question is, how did we get to that? Claudia Rogojohn's back again, baby. Here it goes. Okay, Claudio, when it comes to the topics of one thing, let's do 3 questions per topic. Okay, so this is the third one. Here we go. More on Dalton being a psychopath. Am I the only one who thought he was one step away from being a serial killer? He talks to that guy by the pool. He basically tells him when people make him mad, he'll go on a killing spree. What the F? Yeah, I didn't get that either. Dalton just turns into a serial killer in this movie. Like, it's not even self-defense anymore. He's just killing fucking people. So, is this really a story about a sociopath serial killer who just happened to be a bouncer? Now, if you made a movie about that, I can live with that. But don't fucking call it Roadhouse, okay? Because that's not what Roadhouse is. You're absolutely right. He just becomes a serial killer. Okay, Roger something says, it's not even good/bad movie to me, which is what I was hoping to get out of the movie. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with an over-the-top bad movie that's super entertaining. Hey, give me one of those every day of the week. I'll take it. But when you give me this soulless approach to something that's instantly forgettable and just has no merits to stand on, that to me is unforgivable. And especially when it costs $85 million fucking dollars. That to me is unforgivable. Hollywood, you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, but they're not. Sorry, I lost my question here. Where are we on the questions? Here we go. The jokes aren't funny. It went on too long and the CGI looks bad. Yeah, the CGI did look like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Harold Holland East says, hey, John, do you ever watch Trailer Park Boys? And also, what happened to your eye condition? Thanks for streaming, man. I never watched Trailer Park Boys. I do not. I've been told many, many times to watch it. I don't know. I'm just not in the mood to watch it, I guess. I don't know. I lived a life very similar to that, so I don't want to look at it. And my eye condition, yeah, I have an eye condition, specifically in my right eye. It's called keratoconus, and it makes everything blurry because my pupil is misshapen, and it kind of sucks a little bit. But it still exists. Like this right eye, I think I'm legally blind, and so if you ever see me squinting like this, that's why. The next one comes from Mika something. Do you like Connor can have a career like Arnold? Do you like Connor can have a career like Arnold? Do I think Conor McGregor can have a career like Arnold? Hell fucking no, I don't. I think Conor McGregor is one of the worst actors who's ever existed on cinema. I never want to see him again in a movie. I thought his performance in Roadhouse, it took every fiber of my being not to shut the movie off every time he spoke. It was fucking atrociously bad. It took me out of the movie. There was no excuse for it. Now, do I think he could have been a henchman in the movie to kick some ass? Yeah. Do I think he could have been cocky and arrogant and a little bit bizarre and crazy? Yeah, I think that would have been okay. But what they did with this character was it was almost too over the top. He's a crazy guy wandering around just beating up people, stealing their cars. And the logic behind this is because some guy from prison told him to do it. but I don't know his clear-cut motivation. Nor do I understand the motivation of anyone in the movie. All right, the next one comes from, and by the way, why did this chat freeze? Let me refresh it. There we go. Okay. The next one comes from, hang on. Scott Sullivan. How's it going, Scott? Thoughts on the second trailer of Furiosa? I actually think I preferred the second trailer much more. It gave me a little more insight to what's going on. And I'm looking forward to Furiosa. It looks like a good time at the theater with some popcorn. And by the way, speaking of popcorn, I bought something at the movie theater the other day. I'd like to show it to you guys now. Would you like to see it? I think someone whispered yes. Okay. Let me grab this. I bought the Ghostbusters Trap popcorn bucket. Look at this thing. This thing costs $40. Is it a ripoff? Absolutely. Did I want it? Yes, I did. Now, this actually, when I bought it, it comes with a free, some free popcorn. But what am I going to do with that free popcorn? Put it in this bucket and take it home and eat it when it's all stale and cold? No, thank you. I don't want it. But yeah, kind of a cool popcorn bucket, I guess. I don't know. I think it looks better when you take the bucket out of it. So if you want the bucket in here, there is a little light at the bottom where it lights up. Little LED light down there. Kind of cool. That was a pleasant surprise. So I think eating popcorn in there would be kind of cool. You know, it lights it up. It's a little magenta. But the best thing about this is that stupid popcorn bucket comes out. And you just kind of get like a little cool prop of the trap from Ghostbusters, which I thought was kind of neat. Now, it's definitely chintzy. I think this should cost like $15. I paid $40 for it, but it does have little wheels on the bottom. And you can get this at any AMC theater as long as they don't sell out. Ooh, does this light up? Hang on. It doesn't. There's a little light there that I think should light up, but it does not. But anyway, I bought this just to put on my shelf here in my the Flick Cave. I thought it might look kind of cool, so just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm really jealous and envious. I'm not jealous or envious. I'm just kind of upset I didn't buy the Dune 2 popcorn bucket that looks like a it looks like a fleshlight, let's all be honest. If you could eat popcorn out of a this is going to get demonetized. You know what? I don't care. If you could eat popcorn out of a pocket pussy, that's what the Dune 2 bucket would look like, okay? And both come with extra butter. Okay? Let's go to the next question here. All right. This is the last day I'm on YouTube. I'm going to get canceled after this. I already know it. But if I can go out on a high note, that's fine by me. Akai Nai, how's it going, buddy? Hey, John, no question, just wanted to say hello. Well, how's it going, Akai, man? How's it going? Nice to always see familiar people in here. It keeps me going. It's nice, it's warm, it's motivating. It gives me those tingly sensations in all the right places. So I do thank you for that. Trying to refresh. There it is. Did it refresh? I think it did. New Point Break or Roadhouse movie. I would probably say the new Roadhouse movie. No, I hate both of them equally. Now, I think the original Point Break is a really good movie. I think the original Roadhouse movie is a really entertaining movie. But I would make the argument that the original Point Break from 91 is a quality piece of cinema. So that remake let me down far more because I was really hoping that remake would get it right. I think a remake of Point Break could be really awesome. So I was really let down with that. I didn't have any expectations from the new Roadhouse movie. So which one do I think is worse? I think if you remove Jake Gyllenhaal from this new Roadhouse movie, it would just be the most instantly forgettable thing that's ever existed. And the thing with the Point Break remake from 2015, it didn't really have any A-list actors in it. And maybe that would have helped it a little bit. But then again, both have terrible scripts and screenplays. So they kind of share all of the same negatives, in my opinion. Except, can I just choose death if I have to pick between both of those? Does Patrick Bateman have good taste in music? I like it. I like Huey Lewis in the News. Or Phil Collins. Matthew Allgreen says, Dune 2 in IMAX was a mesmerizing, there we go, I can read, experience. The Black Sun sequence was awesome. I quite enjoyed that sequence as well, man. I really liked that they made Chani as skeptic and emotional core of the story. Denis has said he will only make the next film if he can make it even better than 2. It definitely needs a third film to cap off the trilogy, I will say that. I quite enjoyed the movie. I thought Dune 2 was everything that Dune 1 was missing. And it definitely felt like it had a pulse. And I loved Dune 2. I quite enjoyed it. And it's one of those movies I'm looking forward to rewatching on 4K one day. But the Black Sun sequence was pretty badass. And I liked the logic behind it. Because a lot of people just think that's a black and white sequence. But when you understand that in the universe where their planet's located, that's what the sun looks like in daylight. It has this sort of monochromatic look to it, which is kind of cool. I liked it quite a bit. So, and Austin Butler, I thought did a damn good job in that role. So, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, "What's a movie that, in your opinion, doesn't get enough love? What is a movie you will definitely defend till the end of time?" I mean, besides Over the Top, and I know that sounds like it's a joke, but I could defend Over the Top. I really could. If you wanted to have a debate about it, I could defend it. But if you want, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a movie recently. I know I have a lot of movies where I say they're sort of underrated movies, but I always forget what they are when someone asks me. You know what? I'll pick 2 comedy movies, which I think are sort of underrated and I think are worth your time to watch them. And I actually think they're funny. One is going to be Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I know you weren't expecting that, but I think that's a fun early 90s comedy movie, which is super enjoyable to watch when you eat some edibles. It's a rainy day. You have some popcorn or some frozen pizza. Watch that movie if you've never seen it. And especially if you like 90s comedies. Another comedy movie from 2005 would be a Ryan Reynolds movie called Waiting. I think that's a funny movie. And if you've ever worked in the food service industry, I think you will definitely appreciate it because it speaks to you, or at least it spoke to me as a pizza delivery driver for many years. The movie Waiting. Spot on. It's brilliant. J-Man Games says, Over the Top is amazing. One of the best, hands down. Absolutely, man. Joel Wayne, who has become a member. Thanks, Joel. Harold Holland East says, Laugh Out Loud looks like an air fryer. What looks like it? Oh, the Ghostbusters trap? Well, I mean, that's kind of what they all look like, isn't it? But it does kind of look like an air fryer. You're right. Okay, the next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson, who says, choose one. From now on, you must watch every movie with either no sound or in 240p. Fuck. I mean, I need the sound, man. The sound is half the experience. If I have to watch it in low resolution, I guess that sucks ass, but at the same time, at least I'll have the sound and some kind of representation of the visual. I'm going to watch it in 240p. And just for fun later, I might just watch something in 240p to see if I can stand it. It's going to look like 8-bit graphics, but nevertheless, it'll be an experience. Daniel Martin says, what are your thoughts on Godzilla 2014 with Gareth Evans as a future director of Jurassic World? You're the best, Johnny. As always, steady hands. I think that's an interesting choice for a director. I mean, let's face it. Okay, Godzilla 2014, as forgettable as it is, the things that I think that it gets right is when they're doing the halo jump out of the back of that plane with red flares, and it's this nighttime sequence where you get this big, eerie, epic sense that there's a giant fucking monster kaiju down there. It gets it right. It makes you it gave me little goosebumps when I watched them jump out of that plane. And it gave you this perspective that I think a lot of other movies, especially when it deals with kaijus, it never quite gets there. But he was able to do that. He made you feel like a little speck in that movie and really intensified just the magnitude of how giant Godzilla was. And that sequence when they're jumping out of that plane, I thought was beautiful. I thought it was so well done. And if you're going to go that route with Jurassic Park movies or Jurassic World movies in the future, I think that's interesting. I think that could set them on a different level that we haven't quite seen yet. So for nothing else, I think if he can recreate that same sense in a new Jurassic World movie, I think that's kind of that would be nice to see, you know. But I do hope that they do bring an interesting story along the way, because that's what always fails in the new modern day Jurassic World movies, and outside of Godzilla -1, it's the human obligatory story and characters that we have to deal with. And I think if you can, and here's the biggest problem with Hollywood today, right? And this is what separates modern day Jurassic World movies from the original. It's the human characters. In the original, all of those characters had a purpose, and on paper, if you took any one of them, well, maybe there's sort of like a generic character who are just there to run away from giant monsters. But when you hire competent, charismatic actors to elevate these characters, it instantly makes everything in the movie better and more memorable. And that's what they did in the original Jurassic Park. But modern day Jurassic World movies just hire generic guy to play generic guy. And that's the biggest problem. You're just bored out of your fucking mind waiting to see another big CGI monster or dinosaur do something. And even when he does something to one of these generic bland characters, you don't give a shit because you don't like this person, nor do you care about them. And the movie failed to make you do so. So going back to your question, do I think he's a good director for a new Jurassic World movie? Yeah, I do. As long as the script's right, as long as it has a good script, I think he'll get the visuals to where they need to be. So I hope that was a fulfilling answer. I feel like I talked about that for like 7 minutes. All right. Gaming Junkie says, "Hey, John, besides the silent... Oh, well, you said silent, but it's Silence of the Lambs. What other film in the series of Hannibal is good?" I think Red Dragon is good. Do you see? I'm going to grab it and cut it off. He's transforming. Do you see? Yeah, I think Red Dragon's good. And now keep in mind, that's directed by Brett Ratner. Okay. But Red Dragon's not, I like Red Dragon. I like parts of Hannibal. I like parts of it. I quite enjoy Gary Oldman's performance in the movie. Cordell. Oh boy, what a child will do for a candy bar. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I love his performance in there. But outside of those, not too many others do I enjoy. Skylar Wheelock says, what are your thoughts on Neve Campbell returning to Scream 7? I don't know. She needs a payday and she'll come back. I don't know. At this point, if they don't somehow capitalize on the conspiracy theory of Stu maybe being in an insane asylum and like literally mentally insane, pulling the strings from a padded room to some degree, I'm going to be extremely let down. You know, this thing needs to go full circle and then they can just start fresh. That's where I'm hoping to go with the Scream franchise, but what do I know? When it comes to the Scream movies, I thought they just got to the point where they were so convoluted, they felt like another version of a Saw movie. It's like, okay, so you've dedicated your life to stalking this person for the last 15 years, but somehow you still have a normal day job. But now you have this hidden place where you have all these crime scene artifacts, and it's a huge warehouse, and you did all this manipulation with your entire family to make this one person's life a living hell. That way you could get them in one spot where you could give them some diatribe speech to kill them finally, but you can't quite stab them with your knife, and they run away and escape, and then the good guy wins. I don't know. They've got simple is always better. We need to go back to basics. I just don't buy the third, second cousin of the person is angry enough to dedicate their life to doing all of these things. And that's where we've gotten with some of these movies. What's your workout split? My workout split is I go to the gym once, maybe twice a week. And then I get to the point where I go, man, I need to work out because I'm shrinking back into an alien. And then the other part of me thinks, well, I'm almost 40 years old. Who gives a fuck? That's my workout split. Okay. You guys know I like to be brutally honest with you guys. That's what you're here for. I hope it is. With a little tinge of comedy to help make it all flow better. Okay, the next one. No, my workout split is honestly, if I can just get to the gym 2 days a week, I'm doing good. Don't ask me what I'm going to do when I'm there. It's whatever I feel like it of the day. I have not had a workout split since 2018, man. Lucas Bernowskowitz says, what Batman villains do you want to see in the next films? Listen, I think they set it up in Batman with Pattinson. I thought, well, they didn't really set it up. In my head, they kind of did. I would like to see a slightly realistic take on Bane. I think that would be pretty awesome. Now, do I think they're going to do that? Probably not. But I would just like to see a great version of Bane introduced into this version of Batman. And I thought the best setup that they did was when Batman's he's getting his ass kicked and he's down and out, and he takes that shot of adrenaline and he shoots into his leg. I thought, oh my God, that's perfect. That's the Venom. That's what Bane needs. If it's some dude just jacked up on adrenaline the entire time, who might have a slight steroid addiction and he's a little bit muscle bound, but nevertheless, if it's this dude who can just give himself adrenaline straight into his veins at any moment, well, that might make him unstoppable. So that was kind of like, I think they could go a little further with that concept. Yeah, Firefly. Didn't we already have that in the canceled Batgirl movie with Brendan Fraser? Okay, the next one comes from, what about Manhunter? I was never a big fan of Manhunter. I know some people enjoy it, but I never was a big fan. Anthony Hopkins is the only Hannibal Lecter for me. D Willard 679. And by the way, guys, I'm about 40 minutes behind on some questions, it looks like, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to start talking faster. Here it goes. And with all that, I just lost the place of the question. Okay, here it is. Hey, John. I was recently recommended that I watch The Game starring Michael Douglas. I really enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on it? I have seen the movie The Game once. The David Fincher movie with Sean Penn, right? I've seen that once. And it clearly, it's one of those concepts where it's hard to buy into the fact that this would all go according to plan. And at the end of the movie, I thought it was kind of a cool concept, but at the same time, it was hard. It was a hard pill to swallow, in my opinion. It had a lot of surrealism going on where you didn't know what was real, what wasn't, but it just felt fake to me. I don't know. I just remember it sort of being a forgettable movie. I do remember the ending though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have strong feelings on it, as you can obviously tell. Cool Keyboard Commando says, would you go to Rumble or other socials if YouTube ever shut down or sold one day? I'd probably go to TikTok. Rumble has reached out to me many times. I don't know who uses it. I don't know what's on it. But I'd probably just do TikTok. If YouTube ceased to exist one day, I'd probably just focus on my normal job that I have currently, and I guess post TikTok videos, begrudgingly so. That's probably what I would do. John, what were you like in high school? I kind of like I am right now, to be honest with you. Slightly like I am right now, I would say. Except you guys understand my humor, and only a few select understood my humor in high school. But that's what I like about YouTube, is you can do whatever you want, and eventually, hopefully, an audience of people who understand you will latch on and stick with you. And I'm so grateful that you guys have done that. You guys get me. You understand what we're doing here. Other people, mouth breathers as I call them in society, don't. Okay? So I do appreciate that, and thank you guys. TikTok is getting banned in the US. They won't get banned in the US. What that is that's an empty threat for TikTok to comply with what they want to do. It won't get banned. But you know what I love about the US government? We need to ban TikTok. Okay, so you guys are going to dedicate all your resources to doing this? That's great. But what about like free healthcare and making sure people have money and food and shelter? Nah, we don't care about that. Ban TikTok. I hate the reality that we live in. Okay, the next one comes from Initial MC says, "Hi, John. Hope you are feeling magical and mystical. Do you have any advice for moving cross country? Also, have you watched The Beekeeper yet?" I have not watched The Beekeeper. I probably never will. It just looks like a mediocre, forgettable action movie starring Jason Statham. Like, what else? Like, life is too short. I need quality cinema that's going to have an impact and resonate with me. I just can't watch that kind of bullshit anymore. I can't even pretend to like junk like that anymore. And I refuse to do so. I have no interest in it. I'm the beekeeper. Ha ha ha. Let's fight. Okay, then that's the fucking movie. Who cares? The end. That cost $50 million. So some advice on moving cross country. Well, I mean, is it for a job? Is it for a lady? What is it for? Where are you going? Why are you going there? My best advice is just have fun with it. It's a new adventure. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're playing video games and you get to pop in a new cartridge and it's a whole new experience. That's what's happening right now. Enjoy that shit, man. It's another chapter in life. Embrace it. Look forward to it. Doesn't mean it's the last chapter. It's just the next one. So have fun with it. The movie, what is this? The Movinator? The Movinator? That's a great name. I like it. Hi, John. I've been watching for a few years. You're still one of my favorite reviewers on YouTube. Have you ever watched Impractical Jokers? I've seen some Impractical Joker episodes, I think. My family and I saw Joe Gatto do stand-up comedy, and we got to meet him after the show. It was so fun. Well, that's pretty cool, man. But yeah, not a big Practical Jokers fan, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know who that is. So I guess I'm sorry. But thank you for the question, man. And thanks for watching. Skylar Wheelock says, the love interest in Roadhouse, she's the actress that played Ratcatcher in Suicide Squad. Oh, was she? You're right, she was. She was. But she just offered nothing for that role. other than a broken English accent and zero chemistry with the leading man. Son Solar says Dalton was a sociopath in the first one. That was literally the point. That him and his town baddie were both crazy. His love interest says as much. No. Dalton in the first film, he might have had... I wouldn't call him a sociopath. Because I think he did feel empathy. He did care about people. But he was a hardened man who didn't understand love, and he only lived for his occupation. Okay? He cared about people. He truly did. For example, when the old man that he rented the barn from, when his house was on fire, Dalton burst into that house through the flames and saved that old man's life. Dalton cares about people. He really does. But at the same time, deep down inside, he's a killer. There's a fine line there. But this new version of Dalton, he's just crazy. He's a crazy guy. he's a crazy guy without a personality. That's who he was. Skylar Wheelock says the love interest. Oh, we already answered that. Okay. R. Johnny Cuddy says, and by the way, thanks for the very. We already answered that question earlier. Claudio Rogajon says, did you see the Crow trailer? He has a mullet. Why? Okay, listen. This is why I can't make normal YouTube videos on a consistent basis. I just think I just can't say the shit I'm really thinking anymore. First of all, he looks like the new Crow looks like a school shooter. He looks like a fucking school shooter. That's what he looks like to me. Nothing else. He looks like a cowardly school shooter. That's what he looks like to me. I can't buy anything that he's doing. It looks comical to me. So that's my thoughts on the new Crow trailer. Will I watch it? Probably. Do I think it looks good? No, I do not. He doesn't look cool. He just looks like... He looks like my cousin that lives in Ohio who used to be addicted to meth, putting on a jacket and trying to be a badass as he walks around his small town up and down the highway as he goes to Dollar Tree every day. Like, that's what it reminds me of. Does anyone else agree? I don't know. That's my thoughts on the new Crow trailer. Is that what we wanted to see? I don't think it is. It looks like Evanescence should be playing during the movie. Fernando Velasquez says, hey, John, hope all is well. Roadhouse. Thought you'd be a lot bigger. Well, I thought this movie would be a lot better. Ingrid Plaza, how's it going? Thank you for the very generous super chat, and here it goes. I am almost 40. I sometimes look in the mirror and think, damn, I look like an old piece of shit now. But but also, I am also like, fuck it, who cares? That said, any suggestions on how to feel less like shit? You know, it's kind of weird and crazy because some days I still feel like that same 12-year-old kid I remember being. I vividly remember the feelings I had when I was a child. I still do. And I think that's why I can stay young. I mean, spiritually speaking for the most part and free. But there's other days where I look in the mirror myself and I see, oh man, you got some gray hairs up there, John. What's going on? Your back hurts today. It's like, oh, what's this bump over here? Oh, is this skin cancer? I don't know. So I feel the same way with you, man. I really do. I think the key is just stay as physical as you can. Don't wither away completely. Keep those childlike sensibilities intact for the most part. You know, I like to think I play a good version of an adult when I have to, but I'm really just playing a part, I assure you. It's just a part. It's not real. Deep down inside, I'm just thinking, oh man, I want to go home and play my SNES Classic and eat and drink energy drinks. Like, that's really what I'm thinking. So yeah, just keep keep this childlike spirit alive deep down in your core, and I guess work out every once in a while. What more can you do, man? I mean, you could take some human growth hormone. That might keep you physically young and vibrant for a couple years, but other than that, that's all you can do. Are you doing a graphic designer job? I am not doing a graphic design. I'm doing a job that relates to real estate. Or, I'm sorry, that's a blatant lie. I don't know why I say that. I'm doing a job that relates to insurance. So to describe what I do for a living now is sort of boring, but at the same time, it's the perfect adult job for me. That it's not creative. You do have to think on your feet. You do have to read people. You do have to be personable. You do have to be likable. But at the same time, you do get to work from home 90% of the time. You do get to coordinate your own schedule. And you kind of just have to keep up on what you're doing and schedule everything so it works out in a timely fashion. So I think doing YouTube and working from home for the better part of a decade kind of helped me be a self-motivator to some degree. So it does help in that sense, but my new job is not creative. I think many people would get bored with it and many people would quit. But for me, it's just, I just take it one day at a time, man. John, have you ever been in a fight before? I've been in a couple fights. I've won a couple fights and I've had my ass kicked many of times. I'm not going to lie. But every time I was in a fight, it was with somebody who was bigger than me. That is the honest truth. It was always somebody who was bigger than me. I always got in a fight with. Because and it was always them who started the fight. I've never had the urge to go punch somebody in the face. But I think people have had urges to punch me in the face. Can you blame them? Okay. Did we already? Okay. Ingrid Plaza says, what do you make of the YouTube reviewers, critical drinker, neurotic, who just complain about Disney and how men can't be men anymore? Well, they make a valid point. Let's be honest there. Are they making valid points? Okay, first of all, they are. I think to some degree they are making valid points. But when your only point is the same point, regurgitated over and over to capitalize to an audience of people who love hearing the same thing echoed over and over in an echo chamber, well, I guess that becomes a bit tedious. So I think if you're tired of hearing the same shit from them, I guess just don't watch their channels. Now, do I watch Neurotic or Critical Drinker? I probably have watched one or two of their videos. Maybe. Not to say I don't respect what they're doing, and I think they have huge following. I guess here's the thing. It's not, even as a guy who can agree with some of their valid points, even I am not the right audience for that. And whatever that audience is, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really watch their videos, so I don't know what else you want me to say about it. But then again, it comes down to this. People say, I hate every single movie, which is the most biased fucking opinion you can ever say because I just hate bad movies. But the same people who say that never say, oh, John liked that last movie that just came out and praised it, like Dune 2. They'll just completely ignore the fact that I liked Dune 2 that came out a month ago. But when I don't like the new Roadhouse remake, I hate movies. So I don't know if it's a biased opinion or it's a narrative someone wants to form in their head. I don't quite understand it. And then some people some people who watch movie reviewers, they want you to like everything. Or maybe just only dislike the things that they dislike. Or maybe only like the things that they like. Without having the self-awareness to understand what makes a good movie good and a bad movie bad. Or the comprehension to be accepting of another opinion that might be different. I don't know. Sometimes it gets a bit complicated, but the important thing to know is I have a caffeinated beverage right here, which I'm going to take a sip out of. You know what it is? I think some people on YouTube are just better at placating to their audience. And maybe that's what they're doing. They know what their audience wants, so they're going to say the same things over and over again, but title the video something differently. And maybe I'm guilty of that too. I don't know. Do you still talk to Christian Harloff? I don't. I'm sure if I messaged him on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck that's called these days, and I had a question or wanted to talk, he would respond, I'm sure. I haven't really talked to Christian in a very long time. John, how do you make a video podcast? Well, you do a live stream on YouTube and you talk, kind of like a podcast, except with a camera. And now you have a video podcast. Okay, let's get back to the questions so I can try to answer a few more of these. We only have 47 more questions, so don't go anywhere. All 276 of you beautiful bastards, stick around. Don't go anywhere. Go get something salty to eat, something cold to drink. Our Johnny Cuddy says, John, enjoying the live streams and your plus attitude. Well, thank you for that. I just feeling angsty today. You know what it is? Like, I was feeling so pissed off today. And I'll tell you what started all of this. I was playing Rocket League, right? And I'm an avid Rocket League player. Am I the best? No, but I'm a pretty good player. But anymore, if I get on Rocket League, I get paired with Diamond Tournament winners who have dedicated their whole fucking life to this game. And furthermore, I cannot play online video games on the weekends anymore. I'm going to tell you why. This goes to all you kids out there who have dedicated your lives to video games. Trust me, I've been there. But as an old bitter man, let me complain about that. If you play online games during the weekend, well, guess what? All these little kids who have no obligations and their life are video games are home during the weekend. They're not at work. They're not at school. They're home with nothing else to do. And they have little agile fingers that need to move. And they're just home, glued into video games. This is their life. And they're trying so hard where I can almost feel the sweat coming out of the speakers of my computer. So that's why I can't play online games during the weekend. It's just too many of the sweaty little kids are on playing, and I just know I'm going to get my ass kicked. And I get so pissed off, I got to leave the room. What was the purpose of all of that? Well, that's why I'm here right now. I'm ranting, I'm raving, I'm slightly perspirating like a shiny disco ball, and I'm not wearing any pants right now. Let's go to the next question. I don't know how that relates to anything, and I hope it does. John can't compete with Adderall kids. I really can't. I can't do it. Like, sometimes I just get into an online game and I want some casual play. Like, I want to try, but like, it's like we don't got to try that hard. You know what I mean? I want to have a good time, not an aneurysm. All right? All right, the next one comes from Andre Ario, who says, have you seen Triangle of Sadness? If not, highly recommend it. It has to be one of the funniest sequences that I've ever seen. Triangle of Sadness. I have not seen that. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. Avocado Balls Johnson says, I love the original 1992 Bad Lieutenant. The routine traffic stop scene is epic. It's on YouTube. Have a look after the stream. I've seen that film once, and I have been meaning to go back and rewatch it with Harvey Keitel for many years. I've just never gotten around to it. Did you watch the Penguin trailer? I have not. But for me to tell you I care about a Penguin show set in Gotham City, I think would be a blatant lie. I just don't. I've never been a big fan of like spin-off TV shows, except for maybe Better Call Saul. Do you play any single-player games? Honestly, I don't. If you guys have a recommendation for a good single player game that I can download and play, please let me know. Lately, I have just been playing on my SNES Classic. I just hooked it up the other day. I haven't played it in a couple years. And that takes me back to my happy place. Because I'll tell you this. Let me give you guys some insights to my life and my psychological well-being, okay? I'm at a point where when I get home from work or dealing with other people's shit all day, I need something simple and pure, okay? So I come home and I click on the SNES Super Nintendo, right? And I just play some retro games for a couple hours, and it just evens me out. It's like a wave of awesomeness and calmness washes over me, and it resets me. So I have been playing Super Mario World quite a bit. I've been playing F-Zero. I've been playing Donkey Kong. Ghouls and Ghosts is pretty fucking hard. I'm sorry. That's a very hard game to beat. But yeah, that's what I've been doing lately. I recommend that. X-Men 97, I have not watched it yet. I do want to watch it. I have a good friend who loves the animated X-Men series as much as I do, so I think we're going to get together at some point next week and hang out and watch those. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I was never into the Final Fantasy games. Halo. The only version of Halo I liked was multiplayer. I actually did not like the campaign that much. I know I'm crazy. Okay, the next one comes from Night King 01, who says, John, I was feeling the nostalgia over the week, so I popped in the Three Musketeers, and I had so much fun watching Oliver Platt, Tim Curry chew up the scenery. But every time I see it, I remember your story of almost dying. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for reminding me of the childhood trauma that I had to live through during after seeing the Three Musketeers. I've shared that story before about almost dying after watching the Three Musketeers. Do I need to elaborate on it again? I don't know if you guys want to hear it. I will, but yeah, they just don't make them like they used to. But if you want the condensed version, I went to see Three Musketeers as a kid. And on the car ride home, I was eating some Spree candy, which sounds good right about now. But the thing about Spree candy is when you bite into it, it breaks apart in your mouth like shards of glass. And it's very sharp, very pointy, and very hard. Okay? And I remember getting a piece of it lodged into my childlike throat. And I couldn't breathe. I feel like I was choking for a solid 5 minutes. And then coincidentally, I had an uncle who lived on the street. We were driving down. We flew into his yard, ran into his house, and I remember my dad pouring a gallon of water down my throat until this candy was dislodged from my I don't know, my trachea. I don't whatever that's called. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but it was lodged in my throat and I couldn't breathe. Trachea. That sounds right. Anyway, so that's the story of the Three Musketeers. Let's just keep going. Wilson says, "Hey John, is it just me, or is it fair to compare Dune 2 to Star Wars? In that sense, Chalamet fell flat for me as Luke 2.0. Keep it up, being 10 out of 10. Oh, kept it from being 10 out of 10." Yeah, I think Chalamet just has sort of a boring generic character. He's just a boring generic character. But you have to understand, he is the vessel that the story sort of told through. You know, as long as everyone else has some charisma and can chew up the scenery, that's okay. But I do agree with you. I think he's a better actor than young Mark Hamill was. Can we all be fair? Can we be honest? Way better line delivery. Christopher Butcher says, John streaming in daytime? Multiverse confirmed. You know what it was? On Saturdays, I have a lot of time during the day. I feel alive during the weekend, or at least Saturdays. So I figured I had some downtime. Why not spend it with you beautiful people? And here we are now. So thanks to all 275 of you for watching right now. Even though the later I do these, the more viewers I have, because I think I cater to an audience of vampires. Joseph Knowles says, pick a John Hughes character to be in Con Air. Oh, fuck. I don't know. Macaulay Culkin? Imagine him on a prison flight with a whole bunch of convicted criminal felons. That'd be a good time. But realistically, I could see John Bender from Breakfast Club being in Con Air. You know what my old man got me for Christmas? A pack of smokes. Here, smoke up, Johnny. All right, there we go. Let's go to the next one. Joel Wayne has become a member. Thanks, Joel Wayne. Thanks, man. Someone asked me, do I think Mr. KD says, do you think McConnor has potential in the future? I do not. I really don't. None. Zero. I don't ever want to see him in another movie ever again. Please never do it. Okay, Ingrid Plaza says, with a very generous super chat, you are different from other YouTube reviewers because you are authentic. Well, thank you for that. And you don't just spew hate to appease an angry fan base that wants to point fingers at others. It's profitable, but boring. Thanks for being different. Well, Ingrid, thank you for that. Thank you for really summarizing who I feel I am as a person. You know, I don't like to give the popular opinion, but I like to give the honest opinion. So thank you for that. Thanks. That means a lot. Those are very heartfelt words. I think you dissected me to my core and figured it out. So thank you for that. I try to be authentic as I can without getting canceled. But at this point, I don't care. I'm at a point in life where I just don't care to appease anyone on YouTube. I just don't have it in me. I just can't. And the truth is, that's why I do live streams, because I can't edit myself. If I can edit myself and I'm making a video and maybe I say something that goes a little too far, well, now I have that ability to cut that out. And I don't want that ability. I want it to be pure. I want it to be unadulterated. And that's why we keep doing the live shows. You are beautiful, John. Well, thank you. You're all beautiful too, even though I can't see you. But I can feel you resonating inside of me right now. All of you. All 275 of you are resonating inside of me right now. And I love it. You know what it feels like? It feels like a bag of popcorn with all the seeds just bursting at the same time. And that bag gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then one day, what do? You open up that bag and a beautiful wave of steamy mist pours into your nostrils. And you put your hand in there and you dig out the kernels and they're all buttery and delicious and they just melt inside of your mouth. And that's what we're doing right now together. We're all just one giant bag of fucking popcorn popping together. And one day, someone's going to dig in and taste us. And it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be magical, and it's going to be mystical. Now, let's go to the next question. Someone cut out what I just said now and give it to me on Twitter, please. I want it. Okay. That's the best life advice I can ever give you. If it made no sense to you, then what are you doing here? I don't know. Here it goes. Avocado Balls Johnson back again, who says, remember that part in the first fight in The Dark Knight Rises when Bane jumps in the air, does a backwards twirl, slaps Batman on the wrist as he lands, causing him to stumble to the ground. Nolan choreography. I didn't hate it. Now, is it a bit messy? Does Nolan... I feel like... Okay, here's the thing with Nolan. He likes practical effects and practical fight scenes. He does. But to a fault. And what I mean by that is, okay, you guys are really going to swing at each other. But I want you to stand 25 feet apart when you do it. It's like if you're going to have a practical fight sequence, and I'm talking to you, Christopher Nolan, because he watches all my videos. Trust me, I know. Can the actors maybe stand a little closer? Just a little closer? So when you swing at him, it doesn't feel like you missed by 14 feet. That's all I'm saying. And as much as we like to praise the Dark Knight opening IMAX sequence, the prelogue sequence, it's cool. I enjoy it. I think it's great. But the thing that takes me out of it, when that bus backs into the bank and hits henchman number 5, and it misses him by about 75 feet, it always takes me out of it. And I always think to myself, I think you could have made that look better. I'm just putting it out there. I think that could have looked better than it did, especially for a movie that cost $200 million. But that's just me. Maybe I'm being nitpicky, but I've noticed Nolan always does that. As much as he likes things to be practical and real, he somehow makes the real and practical things look fake. I think that's it. I think that's my little gripe with Nolan. Does anyone else agree with that, or does anyone else know what I'm talking about? Blink, John. I refuse to blink. I don't want to miss a thing. Not now, not ever. The Movie Raider says, John, do you think Jim Caviezel is a good actor, and are you excited for The Passion of the Christ Resurrection? It starts production soon. Absolutely. He comes back as the T-800 carrying a crucifix on his back, but little does anyone know that that crucifix is actually a sawed-off shotgun, and he will have his vengeance in this life or the next. I don't know anything about the new Passion of the Christ movie. I don't even know if that's a joke. Is that a real thing happening? It could be. I don't know. Ingrid Plaza says, I am almost 40. I sometimes look in the mirror and think, oh, we answered this earlier. Sorry. Skylar Wheelock says, what do you think of the Monkey Man trailer? It looks like, and this is the, I forget, is it Patel something? Is it Dev Patel or something like that? I think he watched Batman Begins, and then he watched John Wick, and he said, how can I make a vigilante movie without obtaining the IP to anything that's been pre-established? And I think the concept of it, like this guy who grew up in the slums and wants to help out the poor and the innocent and become a vigilante, and he gets into this like underground fighting thing as a training method, and he wears a monkey man mask because, let's all face it, we know how the old saying goes, you can become more than a man if you become a symbol. Maybe that's what the monkey man is. It's a symbol. And I think all those things are cool and they speak to me, but at the same time, I don't know if the movie is going to play out what I would like to see from that same premise. It might be cool, but I don't know. I'll check it out, but it looks like a movie to watch at home. And it also looks like a movie it's going to overstay its welcome by about 30 minutes. That's just like, even watching the trailer halfway through it, I'm like, oh, it's still going? Okay. All right. The next one comes from, we're only about 10 minutes behind on the question, so I'm doing my best to catch up here. I might almost take a break. I'm getting a little lightheaded. I feel like I'm screaming a lot today and ranting about nothing. Paul Flores, how's it going, Paul? You seemed high when you hung out with Alex Lay, but that's the only way to hang out with Alex, when you're slightly sedated, but then again, you don't know what he's going to do to you if you pass out. No, I wasn't high. I had just gotten off work that day, and I was just trying to figure out Alex as a person. I wasn't high. I promise you I was not, though I should have been. Alex Hadley says, hey, John, boy, how's the weather? Favorite sci-fi? The weather outside is delightful. It's about 40 degrees. The sun's out, though. No complaints. I can't wait till I can't wait until spring finally hits and I can start using my riding mower again and go outside and mow the grass, because there's nothing more therapeutic in life than doing that. I promise you. Favorite sci-fi film? I don't know. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. That's one of them. Also, Back to the Future. Thoughts on the Beetlejuice trailer? Hey, come here. Hey, come here. I'm excited to see Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. I do want to see the movie. But if I told you that trailer like blew me away and got me super hyped to see a new Beetlejuice movie, that would be a blatant lie, and I can't lie to you. I want to see it. I think Jenna Ortega is a good modern day version of what's her face. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. Yes. Do I think the trailer was great? No, not really. But I'll take old man Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice once again. Hey, I'm sure it's better than the Roadhouse remake. Can we all agree on that? Wilson says, randomly watched BDA... What? What is this? Randomly watched your B-Day live stream while at work. Thanks for reminding me of it follows. Where she's in the hospital bed, staring at the doorway, waiting to be brutally murdered. Have a good weekend. Well, thank you for that, Wilson. That was a very random comment, but thank you for watching that random live stream. And thanks, Wilson. I hope you're having a good day. Maybe don't focus on the brutal, dark thoughts all the time, though. Well, thanks, man. Will H says, John, that's good advice, man. We're about the same age, and staying consistent in the gym is the only medicine needed and keeps you feeling and looking young. Bicep pumps and Bane veins are just secondary. Staying creative keeps me feeling young as well. Absolutely. I can tell you when I'm getting old is when my creative juices start draining, because there's some days where I don't have it in me to be creative. I don't have it. I truly don't. And I've noticed lately I've had to dig deep down into the recesses, the reservoir, the reserves, if you will, to get my creative juices flowing sometimes. So anyway, yeah, getting old, it's not fun. Rex says, do you play any single-player games? Not really, no. Other than all my classic SNES, man, not really. I would like to play some new single-player games. Some people gave me some recommendations earlier, but I don't know. I just want a very simple single-player game that I can just turn on for like 10 minutes and then turn it off. That's what I want. The next one comes from Faisal Haiti, who says, do you still have abs? Are you too old now? I don't know if I have abs. Well, I'll put it this way. If I don't eat for a day and I flex my abdomen, I'll have some abs. They're not like Jake Gyllenhaal abs, but I can have some abs. But then again, I haven't really done crunches or any abdomen core workouts in probably 5 years. Claudia Roguejohn says, another thing about The Crow, it just looks like another John Wick clone. I'm tired of everything looking like John Wick. We already had 2 Extraction movies that had the same aesthetic. It's getting boring now. Go back to Jackie Chan type action scenes. Could you imagine if The Crow fought like Jackie Chan? Just picks up a broomstick and starts doing 360s and flips with it? Anyway. Yeah, it feels like everyone wants to be the new John Wick movie, you know? To a certain degree, it's the new style, but... Avocado Balls Johnson says, Hatred from 2015 as an epic single-player game. Well, good to know. Thank you for that. I'll look into it. Syrup Sailor says, it's too simultaneous theatrical Batman too ambitious. What was this? I thought I just had an aneurysm reading this. Is too simultaneous... I can't read the question. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're trying to say right there. I'm sorry for that. Mega K Movie says, what would you like to see in a sci-fi movie? Listen, I'm all for space adventure sci-fi movie. Like, if you could make another movie like Interstellar and go a little bit more fantastical with it and get rid of the weird choices where everyone on Earth is a farmer and it's dusty and everyone's really bizarre and doing crazy things like Casey Affleck was doing. Get rid of that part of it. And just send a team into space looking for another habitable planet that have the technology. That to me would be another cool sci-fi film. Like, give me that premise again, but maybe show me some more planets, some other systems. Show me, I don't know, maybe an alien life form or something. I don't know. But I would like something huge and epic like that. Something that I felt was a missed opportunity, and it feels like they just want to deviate away from it and focus more on xenomorphs, was the Alien franchise with the engineers, the space jockeys. I thought that premise was really intriguing, and I wish they would have dived deeper into that. But they kind of like got away from it with Alien Covenant, where they just drop a black bomb of goo on them and their whole civilization just instantly disintegrates. But I wanted them to go further with that. Here was my thing. This was my idea for a future Alien movie. What if after Alien Covenant, right, they fixed the mistakes that they were doing, and somehow one of the space jockeys from that civilization team up with the humans to help take down a xenomorph? I thought that'd be kind of cool. I would like to see that team up to some degree. I think you could do something interesting with that concept. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let's go to the next question. Ingrid Plaza, already answered that one. Night King of One back again, who says, did you notice that Dune in general is literally just a retelling of Lawrence of Arabia? Yeah, I got it, man. Yeah, I think we all can agree on that. An outsider who learns the way of the natives and becomes an honorary member their desert tribe and leads them to victory against their oppressors. Yeah, man, I hate to tell you this, but every big classic movie that's ever existed borrows the same premise or storyline from something else that's already existed or has been pre-established. And if you want to even go back to a biblical sense, yeah, all this shit technically exists in some format or another. Yeah. Gaming Junkie says, hey, John, did you ever get around to watching Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix? I did. I quite enjoyed it. The biggest detriment to watching the Dahmer series on Netflix was you could never eat when you watched it. It's like, oh man, in 5 minutes, I know this fucker is going to be eating some human heads or something, so I cannot eat a piece of pizza right now. That was the biggest negative. But I quite enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming Netflix series based on another serial killer. I think it's the the twins that killed their parents in Los Angeles back in like the late 80s. I forget their names. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. I love serial killers fascinate me. They really do. J-Man Games says, have you ever watched East versus West arm wrestling? I have not. It's really good. It's on Core Sports 420 for East versus West. I don't even know what that is. I couldn't even tell you what you just said to me. What is that? What is Core Sports 420? I don't know what that is. Did you check out Face Off on 4K yet? I did not. And by the way, if you guys are YouTube members, feel free to chime in the chat right now. I'm going to try to read everything that you guys are typing. Bruce Cook says the Menendez brothers. That's it. Yes, that's who I was referring to. Faisal Haiti says, has there been any worse / insufferable community in the history of mankind than film Twitter? Yeah, man. Sometimes it gets, every time I post anything about a movie on Twitter and maybe like I don't like the movie and it's clearly a bad movie, like you'd have to have really bad fucking taste to defend it. Someone always does. I'm just waiting for that comment. And I just go, okay, there we go. That's why movies like this get made. Because that fucking person right there. All right. G-Man Game says, Core Sports is the website. This event is on 420. Got it. Okay. Thank you for that. Night King 01 says, about Nolan, you are right. He likes practical effects to a fault. Best case of this is Dunkirk. Yeah, no CG, which meant we only see at max 100 people on the beach when there was 400,000 on the beach and the city was bombed to hellscape. Use some CG. Yeah, that was the weird thing about Dunkirk. When you see the lines of soldiers waiting on the beach and there's basically, it looks like there's 500 people at most. And then you read the historical accuracy, you read what really happened historically speaking, and they say hundreds of thousands. I thought to myself, this is like a detriment to this movie. Like, what was he thinking? So I agree with you on that, yeah. Jude Curran says, hey, John, thoughts on The Big Lebowski? Been watching since I was 11 and now I'm 19 in university. It's crazy. All the best from Scotland. Well, thanks for sticking around for so long, man. The Big Lebowski is one of those films that just ages like fine wine. The older I get, the more I relate to the Big Lebowski himself, the dude. Hey, man, there's a beverage here. It's a brilliant film. And I think John Goodman in the role is Walter, this high-strung ex-Vietnam veteran who's just so over the top and zany. I fucking love it. I relate to the movie quite a bit. Phenomenal. Skylar Wheelock says, over the line. But what he actually says is, why doesn't Tarzan have any facial hair or any hair anywhere besides on top of his head? That's a great question. Maybe he just doesn't have good beard genetics. I can relate. Probably for sex appeal, I would imagine. Anyway, Will H says, the original Crow was effective because of the bleak atmosphere, soundtrack, and score. All of it puts you in Eric Draven's world and you believe it. New trailer feels like a hot topic take with no personality. The Batman is an example of proper atmosphere. Yeah, and plus, Bill Skarsgård, I only see him as It the Clown. I'm sorry. Like his big bug eyes and he's like 6'5", and I don't buy him kicking a whole bunch of people's asses. I just don't whatsoever. Yeah, it's hard to buy into. Joel Wayne says, have you thought about doing a special flick trip video where the 10th anniversary of Nightcrawler by visiting some of the filming locations in LA? That's not a bad idea, though I would have to fly to LA and shoot all of that. I don't know. I would probably visit a lot of other film locations other than that if I ever did do a big flick trip video in Los Angeles, because there's so many cool locations you could go to. But not a bad idea. How about I start a GoFundMe where I need $30,000 to make a feature-length flick trip video. And I assure you, I will put a lot of money into this. I won't just drive around in my Toyota. No. We will get a DeLorean. We will do the flick trip in a DeLorean. We will go to all the hot, cool filming locations from some of my favorite films, including the McAllister House in Chicago. We can go to Los Angeles. There's plenty of cool locations we can go to. That would be kind of a cool idea, actually. Okay, Big Tony Rocket says, the new Crow looks like an alphabet person? I don't know what that means. What's an alphabet person? Is that a new term I have not heard of? Donnie, you're out of your element. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. You're entering a world of pain. Here we go. Skylar Wheelock says, 1998 to 2004, American animation really had something going on then. Just stopped for some reason. Iron Giant, Prince of Egypt, Treasure Planet. Oh, you're forgetting Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, too. That was another good one. Great scores, too, man. I agree. Prince of Egypt, that hit hard. Iron Giant hit hard. Good stuff. Was never a big fan of Treasure Planet, though. So, but I do concur with you. Yeah, those animated films weren't just catering to 5-year-olds. They were catering to children, yes, but they were also making awesome fucking movies and not making it dumbed down and babyfied for the lowest common denominator. And that's the other thing movies used to do. They used to make you think. Now they just speak to troglodytes who want to scroll on TikTok all day. They have no common sense or taste. But anyway, let's go to the next question here. Cool Keyboard Commando says, gonna watch Frozen Empire. Should I drink while? Oh, I'm definitely taking drugs before that thing happens. Listen, I'm gonna go see the new Ghostbusters movie tonight. I'm looking forward to it. I want to go to the theater and watch a big blockbuster movie. Okay, it's been a while. Do I think it's going to be good? No. Do I think it's going to be slightly soulless? Yes. Do I want to see 13-year-old kids being the new interpretation of the Ghostbusters? Not really. But I do want to watch it. Preferably on drugs. I think it's going to be a kind of a hollow, directionless movie. And that's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong, but I have a lot of faith that I'm right. But then again, I'm just a guy who hates all new movies. So I don't know. Okay. John, how's work going? What are you driving these days? I drive a Toyota CHR. It kind of looks like the suburban version of the Batman Tumbler. Take the most pussified suburban version of the Tumbler from Batman Begins, and that's what I drive. That's kind of what it looks like from the back end, and that's why I bought it. And that's why I like it. Plus Toyota, very reliable. Does it come in black? Lightbringer says, on a scale from 1 to 10, how aggressively do you think Tim Pool touches himself to the trailer of Civil War 2024? Oh man, I am looking forward to that movie though. I think it looked kind of fun. I think it looks entertaining. I do want to see it. My eye itches though. Oh, an alphabet person means LGBTQ. Yeah, man, I sorry, I did not even know that terminology. That's how far removed I am from that. Ingrid Plaza says, have you seen Poor Things? It's my favorite movie of last year. I know the movie scares some select people, but don't get scared now. Mark Ruffalo was hilarious. Poor Things? This sounds familiar. Let me look this up. Speaking of the gym, I might actually be going there shortly. Poor Things. I didn't see this. Okay, sorry, my eye itches quite a bit right now. Ooh, all right. Nothing's more orgasmic in life than rubbing your eye when it itches. Am I wrong? Yeah, I have been meaning to watch Poor Things. I have not yet, though. I'm going to check it out, though. Looks good. I'll check it out. Rex says, are the original Mad Max movies worth watching? Absolutely. Now, am I a fan of the first one? I don't love it. I know some people do. I think Mad Max Road Warrior is fucking phenomenal and awesome. You know, to me, that's like the T2 Judgment Day of the Terminator franchise. Road Warrior, please go watch it right now. Immediately. I think you will like it. The villain of the film, his name is Lord Humongous. Now, with all that said, let me do my Lord Humongous impression. I know. You've seen it one too many times, but I have to do it. And scene. Leave the fuel, and I will spare your lives. Fuck yeah, Lord Humongous. Anyway, now Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the first act of that film is phenomenal. It blows its load in the first 45 minutes. You got Tina Turner. You have Master Blaster. You have this epic fight that happens in this gladiator-like dome. And then after that, well, the movie just goes downhill. It's terrible. It's boring. So my recommendation to you is watch Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but just watch the first 41 minutes of it. And then you can just take it out and pretend like it doesn't exist. Does anyone else agree with that opinion? Please chime in right now. Murph says, new gym workout video? It wouldn't be that entertaining. You'd probably see it once a month. Here's what I do when I go to the gym now, in my old age. I set a timer literally on my Apple Watch for 30 minutes. I work out for 30 minutes. Now, I give it my all. I keep going. I get some good cardio in. I pump the weights. But I work out for 30 minutes. That's it. No more, no less. All right, the next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson once again. Top 3 movies. Mine are Alien vs. Predator, Requiem, Over the Hedge, and Human Centipede 3. 3 great choices from a kid who's probably got a lot of issues and lives in his mother's basement. And trust me, I've been there. I know that was a joke. Aliens versus Predator, Requiem. Jesus. Top choices, man. Good stuff. My top 3 favorite movies of the last couple years would probably be Captain Marvel 2, Roadhouse the remake, and maybe, oh shit, what's another great movie we've had recently? I don't know. Whatever the new Trolls movie was called? Or the latest Minions movie? I can't even make the joke because I cannot even reference one really shitty movie that's come out because I eradicate the thought from my brain. All right, let's go to the next question here. And it is from Saul, who says, if you could go back in time to any year for movies, which would it be? Oh, man, I would love to go back to maybe 99, I think, overall had the best movies. That would be kind of cool. But really, if I could, like, click a button and go back to the movie theater for any movie throughout history and watch it with an audience of people for the first, sorry, my eye itches once again, and watch that movie and witness it with everyone else around me. Something about maybe watching the original Star Wars movie in a cinema surrounded by people who have never seen it would be kind of interesting to watch. I just think that'd be kind of cool. All right, the next one comes from okay, here it is. Harold Holland East says, when was the last time you were properly drunk? Also, going to see Roadhouse tomorrow, maybe drunk after all these comments. Haha. You're going to see it? Just watch that junk ass shit at home, man. You don't need to go anywhere. Watch it on your phone as you take a shit. I mean, just watch it in 10-minute increments. You'll get through it at some point. What was the question? Oh, properly. On New Year's Eve, I drink one too many glasses of champagne because champagne to me just goes down like carbonated water. I can just chug it, and eventually I will spew it all back up. Alex Hadley says, did you see the new Alien Romulus trailer? It looks cool. Yeah, it looks like another Alien movie that's well done. But it just looks like they're doing the same shit to cater to the same audience where you have a xenomorph in dark hallways on a spaceship somewhere. And I'm hoping, I'd like if they expanded the concept to something we haven't seen yet. But it feels like they're sort of placating to the same audience, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to make a new Alien movie, just give us some justification. Like if this is just another prequel movie or something set in between two other movies that had already existed, then okay, I guess here's the new Alien movie. But I was hoping they'd either carry on with the story and hopefully they tell me something I don't already know. Because just watching a xenomorph kill people in a dark spaceship, that sounds cool, but I just hope the movie has some justification for being made. But maybe that's me. Maybe I'm being too picky when it comes to an alien movie. Casper says, is toxic masculinity a real thing or a feminist propaganda? Are a feminist propaganda? I think both things somewhat exist in some facets, do they not? But then again, I think sometimes both work in a positive way. Like, let me give you an example right now of an empowered woman and male masculinity coming together in one movie and the perfect culmination that work, okay? And this is why older movies got it right. And I'll preface with this. They used to be able to tell a story. And you focused on the story and not Hollywood's alternative motives. And here's the movie. Bear with me for a second. Keep in mind, I make all this shit up as I talk, okay? I don't script this out and have it ready to go. T2 Judgment Day. You have a strong female lead with Sarah Connor. She's a very strong, independent woman in that movie. But you also have the Terminator, who is the definition of testosterone and male masculinity, even if he is a robot, okay? But he looks like a man on the outside. And those two things culminate together perfectly, but neither one overshadows the other. And they both exist in harmony in this story. But now if you made that same movie, they're going to shove either one of those aspects down your throat, and probably more so the feminist approach, because that's how you get movies made these days. And that's the detriment, I think, to modern day movies, is they don't know how to balance these characters. And there's too much of one thing. I feel like I'm rambling on. Let's just go to the next question. But I will reference anything that you say, politically speaking, with Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Just know that. Ryan Potter says, does Seth Rollins' gimmick deserve a Razzie? Yeah, it's getting a little cringy. I can't stand his voice when he laughs. I just can't fucking stand that type of voice. Elliot says, do you think woke movies will ever die? Well, with all the box office results coming back pretty bad, I think maybe Hollywood is getting to the point where they can say, well, you see, we tried, everybody, but we don't make any money because everyone who cries about all of these things don't actually want to spend the money to watch them on the screen. So we're going to go back to doing what makes money. I think maybe Hollywood is pivoting to some degree. Did She-Hulk get greenlit for another season? I wonder why. All right. Skylar Wheelock says, AJ Styles looks like he ate AJ Styles from the past. The dude is jacked. Oh, yeah. Human growth hormones will do that when you get prescribed by a doctor. Okay. The next one comes from Avocado Balls Johnson. I love when the pred alien seeds okay, this is a very broken comment, but I'm going to try my best to read it. I love when the pred-alien seeds the pregnant lady with xenomorph quadruplets will devour her unborn child before bursting out of the stomach. Also, I have no problem eating when watching gore movies. I can eat when I watch gory movies as long as it's not something based on nonfiction. Like Dahmer, for example, right? I can't eat when I watch it because I'm thinking, all right, someone was literally butchered and eaten. That's fucking disgusting. But if there's a made up sci-fi movie and some dude explodes, okay, I can still eat my pizza when I watch that. So that's fine. All right, guys, how long have I been talking? Probably too long. This feels like it's been a very long live show. Okay, anyway, I think I'm going to wrap up the live show there. I'm getting a little bit lightheaded. I'm all out of my caffeinated beverage. But I do want to say this, guys, before I go. Thanks for hanging out on this Saturday afternoon. Thanks for asking all the glorious, magical questions. And leave your thoughts, your opinions down below if you guys are watching the live show afterwards. And if you could, give it a thumbs up because it does help that stupid YouTube algorithm. And it does help put these live shows into your feed because, let's be honest, the YouTube subscription box is basically, well, whatever YouTube wants to show you that day. So give it a thumbs up. Click that stupid bell notification. Is that even a thing anymore? I don't know. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Or don't. It's up to you. It's your freedom. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe. I'll see you on the next one. And have a good weekend. Bye-bye.